And so with the digital, because the input is so immediate, the return is so immediate,
You really have to spend time with your
that
image.
you never have a
Study.
chance, if you're not careful, you can end up never analyzing the image itself. So because you're getting so many images so fast that you have no time to analyze exactly what's going on. So that was a nice thing.
Or to take responsibility.
So you said yourself, there are all sorts of techniques to teach. Also in the era of film, just the simple technique of this cutout cardboard, where you put it and make a frame and take pictures without actually taking pictures. That's an exercise, but it's hard to get people to do that. They get bored with it very quickly because they want results.
Now, people want instant results. Last week there was a young woman who put out work, and in the critiques that I do, I said, print out as many pictures as you want. This is tabletop, fill with pictures. They only do the small pictures, the postcard. I don't want anything bigger. I don't want any enlargements. I don't want a final exhibit. I just want to talk about the process of what we're seeing, and they know that they've got some. If you want, later on you'll do it. I'm surely not interested in it. I don't need it. But when you put out work, a lot of times I tell them also put out the photographs you didn't choose. Leave it in a pile. If anyone wants to look at it, they will. If not, not. And I always look at it because I know that I'm going to find stuff in there that's better than anything that they're showing. They're just not ready for it. And that's exactly what happened with this young woman this past week. There was one photograph that was exquisite. It was the kind of thing that any photographer wished they did. It was so complicated. There were so many things going on, and she wasn't ready for it. She just couldn't, just too much. She didn't realize it, but it was perfect. It had all the rhythms of life, and it was just wonderful. She put it in the junk pile. And when we put it in the top ones, because that's what I do, everyone picks the ones that they like and put it up against the wall and back of the photographs. Everybody picked that photograph. And I said, well, look at this picture. Why did you pick it? And she's looking, and all the time I'm talking about it, I'm pointing it at her. She says, I'm starting to see it now. I said, say that again. She said, I didn't spend enough time looking at it. And that's part of what we have to learn, is to spend that time. I don't know if we've answered the question, but to me it doesn't matter, the media, whether it's digital or negative. I tell them don't choose a negative because you're not going to have time for it. There's going to be so many things that you're going to learn to see. I don't want you accenting the print. I want you seeing. And it's going to come through. Later on, deal with the technique. Right now, learn to see. Learn to experience, learn to feel, learn to photograph with intuition and the understanding that comes from the subconscious and from the dreams and from something that you know it's right, but you don't know why. And then we'll figure out in words so that next time you'll be able to take it to the next step. Does that answer your question? I never answer a question straight. Any others? Okay. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you all very much. We can come in the other room here and look at this work.
Actually, I do have a question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear.
No, well, I didn't say.
Oh.
Will there be a street photography workshop?
Yes.
Well, we're trying to work that out now. If you're interested, we'd like to know about it. But you've had an excellent preview here of what kind of an approach it's going to be. So we just told you.
If I would do such a course, it would be very much what I'm doing at Bezalel. It would be very much what I'm doing at Bezalel, because this is what I believe in. I'm not going to teach something I don't believe in. And street photography would be the physical place. It's got everything. But what we will learn, and what I intend to, in fact, teach, because you can teach techniques. And there's technique of seeing, there's techniques of understanding, of perception, of learning. There are these techniques, and if you learn them, you go up to the next level. And when you do, you go up to the one after that. And there was once a student I had at Bezalel who, this was while I was still in the department, And she says to me, I'm going to miss next week. She says, I'm sorry. She says, I'm not going to be here. I said, it's okay. She says, no, it's not. She says, I want to take another step. Because this was a person who every week was taking another step, and she didn't want to miss that extra step. I said, don't worry, we'll figure it out. What I'm thinking of is about a 10-week course of 2.5 hour meetings, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I don't know if people can take too much more than that. And they wouldn't necessarily be 1 week after the other because there are times I have issues of commitments that also, but it's about 10 weeks, and we do critiques, go out together and look, learn to see. That would be basically what it would be. And I would expect a lot of work. I mean, I tell my students, I want 8 hours of work a week. You go out and photograph for 8 hours. None of them do. But at a certain point, when it clicks, as the Israeli expression, it's a wonderful expression, when the asimon falls in. I don't know if any kids have any idea what we're talking about, but when the asimon falls in, which is after you bang and bang on the box, and it's rattling around, and finally it clicks in, and you get the line, and you say, thank God, because there are no phones in Israel, when the asimon falls, and these guys come in smiling, you know that you can't stop them. And I was telling Neil before that there was one person maybe 2 or 3 years ago, after 2 weeks, 1 week she showed, 2 weeks later she comes in with about 120 pictures. And most instructors won't allow a person to put up more than 3 because you can't critique it. They've got to tear it apart, put it together, and all the crap that they say about nothing. And we used to do that, and my teachers did. They were good at it. We didn't know better. But she came in with 120 pictures. 70 of them were worth exhibiting. It was just amazing. And I look at this and I say, my God, I wish I could do this. And I can't. Because I grew up with all the wrong rules. And she didn't. She didn't start with all of those problems that I had to overcome. This idea of ego and stuff. There's no ego. You go out there and wow. There's just this whole great, big, wonderful, exciting world out there, and I'm discovering it all the time. And it was no problem for her. It is a problem for us, for me. You go out and, what do you have to say? And what's your project? Explain it. Drive it into the ground with theory and what you plan on doing, and you're going to and know exactly what's going to happen at the end. I don't believe anyone who says they know what's going to happen at the end. You're going to hit a wall and it's going to tell you left or right. You didn't know that the wall was there, and that wall is up here. Or you go into a bus and you start out with one concept and you come home with a completely different one. And you say, the hell with the first concept. It wasn't worth anything anyway. Look what I've got. I've got gold. You've got something special, wonderful. Something that's just pulling. You can't deny it because you're in tune with that other side, which is the sensitive side of your soul, of the side of the brain where it's emotions, it's taste, it's feeling, it's sensibilities. It's a different knowledge. It's just as valid. Jung talks about that. You really have to read his first chapter, the book of Man and His Symbols. And if you get it, there's 2 editions. There's also in Hebrew, but in the English there's the one which is illustrated, the one which is not illustrated. The illustrated one's fun. It's the same thing, but when he talks about it, he says modern people don't relate to their subconscious. He says we're twisted. We have problems. We can't put the 2 worlds together. That's why we have so many problems. The wonderful part about that amazing book is that amazing book came from one of those dreams. Not that God was talking to him, but his subconscious was talking to him. Someone who he knew very well, who was his publisher, came to him and said, Professor Jung, why don't you do a book for the common people? Why is it always for the people who, all the scientific? No, he says, I'm a scientist. No. And when he said no, I meant no. It wasn't something. But then the night later, he had a dream. And in the dream, and they write about this in the book, he's standing in front of thousands of people who are listening to him, and they understand. And he listened to his dream. And this was the last project he did before he died. He saw the book in theory. He never saw it published, but he saw all of the articles because he wrote the first 100-page article, and the rest of his book is a lot of his disciples who wrote different categories, and that was how he took the thing. But he did this wonderful, monumental book and an essential kind of reading. You have to do what you believe in. I never answer a question straight. Any other questions that you don't want answered straight?
How do you find young, I mean, we're all here, less young than you, most of your students in Bezalel. How do they relate to?
Well, I'm not sure if that's an insult.
No, I was not, I was just mentioning a fact.
I think that when
They
as soon as
usually-
we're ready, it doesn't matter. I think young people have